Rosa Audiobooks presents The Nurses of Lark Lane by Pam Howes, narrated by Georgia Maguire. Chapter 1. Egbert, June 1955. Alice Dawson put down her knitting needles, stretched her arms above her head, and yawned. She dropped the navy blue cardigan she was making into a tapestry knitting bag on the floor beside her armchair, got to her feet, and switched off the television set. She'd picked up a bargain pack of wool down at Paddy's Market last week and was trying to get ahead with school uniforms in readiness for September's new term. Poor kids, she thought. They hadn't even had their summer holiday break yet, and she was ready for packing them off back to school. But at least it would save her some money later in the year. There was enough wool to make 2 new cardies each for her daughters, Sandra and Rosie. Alice tapped on the front sitting-room door and popped her head round. The cosy room now did duty as her eldest daughter's bedroom. Cathy was curled up on the single bed under the window, reading a battered copy of Anne of Green Gables. "I'm making a bit of supper, Cathy. Do you want anything?" Cathy smiled and sat upright. "Toast, please, ma'am, and a cup, eh? I'll come through to the back room while we have it." In the small kitchen, Alice put the kettle on the gas stove and leaned against the sink, feeling drained. Her thoughts wandered back over the last few years, which had been nothing short of disastrous, both financially and emotionally. She and her second husband, Jack, had been in charge of the Egbert British Legion until February this year, when, due to him abusing his steward's position, drinking away all the profits, and then fiddling the books to try to cover his tracks, he'd lost them every penny they'd ever had. They'd been evicted by the brewery from the flat they'd lived in above the club. Jack was currently residing in a convalescent home, recovering from an operation to amputate his right foot. It had been damaged during a wartime shooting accident, and infection had developed in the bone above his ankle. He'd have been at risk of septicemia if the operation wasn't carried out. Alice and her eldest daughter, Cathy, from her first marriage, and Sandra and Rosie, the 2 younger daughters Alice had had with Jack, had managed to find a new home in a small terraced house on Lucerne Street, next door to Millie, Alice's best friend. Millie and her husband, Jimmy, had bought Alice's old family home a good few years ago, and Alice now loved being almost back where she felt she belonged. And to make things complete, her and Millie's close friend Sadie now lived opposite them with her teenage son, Gianni. Alice felt that, although...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?